Alright, the Entity tool is the fourth tool in our Tools toolbar. And we can select from the Entities category a list of different entities we can place within our levels. Now, entities within different games, such as Half-Life 2, Counter-Strike, Day of Defeat, are going to be different. You'll have a lot of the same entities, but there are going to be a bunch that are different and have different parameters within each game. So let's start out with a couple central to Counter-Strike that are going to allow us to actually get in and play our game a bit. The Entity tool. Let's look at our list and quickly browse through what we have available. We have AI entities, environment entities, filter entities, some different game functionality entities, information entities, logic and light entities, some NPCs, some physics entities, point entities, our different type of prop entities, some other miscellaneous entities, and of course your weapons entities. Now, central to Counter-Strike, and in order to get us to play our game, we're going to go down to the info entities and look for a couple useful entities called info player counter-terrorist and info player terrorist. Now, we'll need at least one of each of these counter-terrorist and terrorist entities to be able to start and play our level. So for starters, we'll select the info player counter-terrorist. And let's just pick one of our sides for the counter-terrorists. We'll zoom in here on the left. With our info player counter-terrorist selected, we can click with our entity tool within our map to place a point. Make sure we're inside our level. And we can press enter to place the entity within our world. Zoom over here. We got this guy hovering off the floor. Selection tool. Zoom in and bring him down onto our floor. You're going to want to make sure that no entities, like brushes, are embedded within the floor, or the game won't run correctly. So make sure he's either directly on the floor or even a unit above. Alternately, with our entity tool, we can click within the 3D view and place entities even easier. Undo a couple times. And we have one info player counter-terrorist. Let's zoom out. We could select an info player terrorist and place him within our map or in the 3D view. Click to add. We could also shift drag and clone our entity just like we did our brushes. Now with our selection tool, let's click our terrorist. And he's facing the wrong direction. We don't want people to start facing the wall. So we're going to open what's called the Object Properties page. With our entity selected, hold Alt and tap Enter. We'll bring up the Object Properties dialog box. Within the dialog box, we have several tabs with different options for our entities, which will change depending on which entity class we have selected or active. Right away, we can see our guys facing the wall. We can simply use the Angles tab to either type in a numeric value of degrees or use the handy angle slider to face our entity the direction it's pointing. Let's change it, hit apply, and you'll see he immediately turns around and is now facing the other side. The info player entity tells Hammer where the starting point for a player should be. When we start a game and pick either a terrorist or a counter-terrorist, this is the location that we'll start. So before we place any more entities, why don't we just go ahead and run through this level that we've created. We'll save. And we can click Run Map from our Operations toolbar, or press F9 on your keyboard. Or we could go to the File menu and select Run Map. Before we run a map, we must compile it. And there are three main processes to compile a map or level. We have our BSP, which will basically compile the objects that create our level, Viz, which calculates the angles and visibility of what the game engine is going to need to render upon playback, and RAD, which compiles our lighting in the level. The default, which is normal for each process, will compile each of these different categories in its normal mode. If we are recompiling a level and we have not changed either the level geometry or the lighting, we can turn those off to speed up the process. But we've never run this level before, and generally it's a good idea to keep them on anyway, unless you know otherwise. We also have the option to not run the game after compiling, which is useful if you simply want to compile the level and trade it with your friend. You simply know it's going to work, which is probably 1% of cases, or you already have the game running. You can also add additional game parameters to get additional information, such as debugging tools, optimization tools, your developer console, etc., up immediately upon game launch. Let's keep all on normal. Make sure don't run the game after compiling is unchecked. Let's click OK to compile our game. The compile process window shows you the process of your game compile. It shows you the prop placing, running the BSP or brush placement program, running Viz, which is going to get your optimization angles, and finally, run the lighting on your map. Now, we haven't placed any lights on our map yet, so that process went really quickly, but generally will be the longest compiling stage of your map. I have Counter-Strike source. Okay. Let's just auto-assign ourselves. Pick our favorite guy. Bada boom. Here we are inside our first Counter-Strike map. Pretty cool. That's the wall. Let's take a look through our little... Let's take a look through our turrets. Now if we duck down, yes. Crawl along, we get some good sniping ability here. Can actually snipe right through the other guy there. Boom, boom. So, obviously in this level, there'll be some good strategic moves, but really the first person and the best shot is going to have the best luck. It's also a pretty small level, as we can see, but we can grow that, make some adjustments. Could easily become a bomb defuse, or even a hostage rescue map, or just a simple deathmatch Counter-Strike level. Get into our other room. Awesome. Now, click the tilde key to bring up the developer console. If the tilde, or the key to the left of the 1 on your keyboard, doesn't bring up the developer console, hit escape, click options, and on the keyboard tab, click the advanced button, and enable fast weapon switch if you'd like, but the developer console. Enable developer console, the tilde, which is, like I said, to the left of your 1, and OK, apply. And now the tilde key should bring up the developer console. This is going to be very useful as you create levels, especially as you get into some of the optimization techniques. For now, let's disconnect, which will disconnect us from our level, but leave the game running. Create a server, get our CS2 rooms, and we can include some bots if we'd like. Let's add a couple. Some normal difficulty. Game options, max players. We have your other simple create server settings for your own maps. You may have already done this. Basically your max players, how many rounds to win, amount of money we'll start with, etc. We place no buy zones yet. We'll do that in a moment. But let's just get a couple guys in here. Bots join a random team. Let's uncheck bots join after a player joins, just so that we get some bots in here without anyone else. And we'll start. Take just a few seconds. The first time you run, it's going to sample the walkable space, so the bot knows how they can move around your level, without us adding any other AI nodes, which we'll do later. Just auto-assign ourselves again. Alright. Oh, you know, so we have no bots in here because we've only allowed one player start position for either team. And apparently our random generator didn't want to join the other team. He liked me too much. So let's hit the tilde to bring up the developer console. Nice easy way to get out. Just hit exit, enter. We'll kill our game. Now we'll add a few more entities, including some more start positions to our map so we can get some bots running around with us. And let's add some simple lights to make a little more dynamic feel to our map. So let's start by cloning a few of our info players. Make 4 on either side so we get an 8-player game. And we'll just spread them out across this back wall. On our top view, shift drag to clone our terrorist. We can shrink our grid size if we want to line them up a little bit better. Whoop, let's go a bit smaller. There we go. And just make sure there's nothing intersecting and they're not touching so we don't get any errors or anyone stuck inside each other when we play our level. Maybe even just spread them out a bit more because we have the room. Control click, shift drag. We'll place our second set of guys somewhere in there. Now, we can also grab 3 new guys that we created on the terrorist, or where are we? Yeah, on the terrorist side here. Shift drag those guys over to the other side of our map. And these guys are facing the wrong way. So we have those 3 guys selected. Alt enter. Let's flip them right around. 0 on the angle. Hit apply. Close that. And there we go. We've got them all nice and moved together. Now we got them all nice and lined up there. One more unit. Alright. Got our guys all lined up. But these guys, let's go to our 3D view and check out what we're doing over here. Now we have 3 terrorists with our counter-terrorist, which isn't going to work. So, again, with those guys selected, we'll Alt-Enter. And we can actually change the class of any entity after we've already placed it. So we'll switch these Info Player Terrorists to Info Player Counter-Terrorists. Hit Apply. And all 3 of those guys turn into counter-terrorists. We can move this guy to be on the floor if we'd like. Save. Make sure we're not into the ground. Might have some problems.